All right, everybody, welcome back. So I have my phone set up on the tripod. I'll pick it up and go around this box in a second, but the package did finally come in after a couple of delays. Now, as you can see, I apologize if the camera's a little shaky, but I'll stabilize it a bit. Obviously, not the best packaging. I can't quite tell if this is on the seller's front or if it's just from general shipping, but you basically just have some pretty, generic writing that says, hey, point this way. So we have the box here. I really don't have to do much to get inside of it, but we will go ahead and see the condition that everything is in on the inside. It was raining a little bit, so that's why the box is a little wet. So that's not anything from the shipping. So I will set this down for just a second and start tearing away at this and see basically just what's inside. All right, so as you can see on the inside, honestly, not packaged very well. I don't really know what these are expected to do. Good to see we have some packing peanuts. Bad to see we don't have that many. So we'll just go ahead and kind of start working through this. So we will put this down here. So this looks like, or honestly just feels like a somewhat generic monitor stand. So I'm hopeful that these monitors will be somewhat decent and that I'll be able to either build on this computer, but we'll see. But overall, first impression, this does feel like a pretty high quality monitor stand, so I'm interested to see what that monitor looks like since I don't actually have a brand on here. So that is item one. And then this looks like the feet, almost knocked the camera over. Looks like the feet to that stand, so pretty decent stand, and I'll zoom out in a bit after we kind of unbox the rest of this. Now, trying to go from the back forward, I think that's just generic packing material. Looks like there was something inside, so we have some, I don't know, I guess I'd say decent computer speakers here. Standard auxiliary with a small AC power outlet or adapter. Continuing to go through. Here we have a random bag of cables and what looks to be a somewhat generic mouse that may have some kind of lights built in. So we have, I see some USB, HDMI cables, so I'm assuming that's just some generic stuff to get everything set up. And then as we kind of continue to go through, so here we have monitor one. So we will try to get this unwrapped. I mean, at least there was some due diligence on the seller's behalf to get these packaged up in a pretty decent way. The box itself was pretty terrible, but again, for all I know, it was in great condition when they started. So, monitor one. I see an HDMI port, so that's good. So we have, honestly, a pretty decent-sized HP monitor. Let me see on the back how big this is. So it looks like this is a 23.8-inch display. I don't know the specs on this just yet, but it's looking like it's in pretty good shape. It's a decent-sized monitor, relatively thin, low profile, so that's definitely good to see. And then I was hoping they would be the same, but I'm not sure it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. But it does look like at the very least they are both decent sized. So here is the second monitor. So it's an on, or just that ONN period. You'll see we have the two HDMI ports as well as the DP port and the port for headphones. And this one is a 24-inch monitor. Has some pretty cool red, we'll just say accents on the back. So I guess the monitors overall were pretty decent. If I can part out the computer, then I'll probably be able to make my money back and potentially have received those for free. Now we're going to keep going. I was hoping, because this feels rectangular, that this was going to be a graphics card, but I think this is the keyboard. So for this we have, I think this is an RGB keyboard. So when it gets plugged in, we have a Skylong branding on the back, or Skylung. So again, you know, decent keyboard. Looks like it's USB Type-C, which is always good to see. So that's good to go. And then this is starting to feel like the stand for the other monitor. So I am not a huge fan of the fact that this stand, I mean, it's metal and it seems like it's a pretty decent quality, but I don't like that the two stands and two monitors don't match. I don't think that's really appealing when you're actually looking at it. But let's see what we're going to keep going here. Now, this was something I didn't think was going to be added, so that's kind of nice. So we have this little, we'll just say it's a rubberized mat, and it looks like it has a light strip going around, and we have a USB cord here. So basically you can set all of your stuff on this, and then you'll have this light strip going around it. So that's kind of nice to see. That's a nice little free extra. And then for the big ticket item itself, so we'll just rip the box open and pull this one out and see what this looks like. So we will just kind of tear away. The bubble wrap's not very insulating, but honestly pretty impressive appearance so far. So again, this was I'm not going to call it a bidding war. Basically just had a couple bids against a couple of other people for this. So honestly, it's a pretty nice looking computer overall. I mean, all things considered, I think the wire management could be improved a little bit, but it's a pretty nice looking setup. So I will take this off of the stand and we'll get a little bit closer here. So you'll see that we have, with the kind of rough lighting, but I'll turn it on and do another video of this actually performing. But overall, it looks just like the pictures. We have the RGB RAM right there, the water cooler here with the R7. It does look like we have a 970 EVO, so we have a M2 hard disk drive back there, or a solid state drive. Honestly, pretty decent looking build for the price. I mean, 400 plus 100 for shipping. So what I will do is, I don't know if the flash will help at all, so let's try that. So looking inside, you have the water cooler there, RGB colors. We have a couple of other things. I can't see if there's any hard drives down here. It looks like there's something down there, so we may need to pop the side off, but we have a pretty decent looking motherboard and everything for the price. So overall, I don't think that this is a terrible build. I'm gonna have to see what we can do as far as getting graphics cards and everything else set up. Alright everybody, I figured it'd be quicker, instead of making a second video, just to go ahead and do a quick breakdown and show you everything functioning in this device. So as you can see, unfortunately it looks a little empty on the inside, but that is primarily because this GPU right here is unfortunately not what I was hoping for, but again, that is kind of expected based on what I saw in the pictures. So the graphics card that's included is the NVIDIA GeForce GT 710, so it's going to be a very light, older graphics card. But again, something that could be pretty easily upgraded. I checked the specs on the motherboard. I'm probably going to be upgrading this to a GTX, probably like a 2070, maybe a 3070, depending on what prices look like. But you can see that we do have the G-Skill RGB RAM, so it's two 8GB sticks, so we have 16 gigs total. We do have the pretty nice looking NZXT, pretty heavy duty looking water cooler right there. And then you can see we have this Asus motherboard in the back. We have a Samsung, or let's see, it looks like it is the 970 EVO right there. It's a 500 gig M.2. And then we also have, surprisingly enough, I believe it's stored down there next to the power supply, there is a 3 terabyte hard disk drive, which was honestly kind of shocking. So it looks like when it's formatted, it's 2700 or something. So it's 2.7 gigs essentially. So we have all of that included. You'll see ports up top, pretty basic. We do have one fan right here and then a larger fan in the back. So you'll see cooling is pretty decent overall. And it looks like the fan up top actually is basically just reflecting colors from down below, so neither are RGB fans. And then obviously I need to clean the cords up on the back, but pretty standard selection of ports on the back, which will get better once I have the new GPU installed. And really the only other thing to note is kind of looking at what actually came with this. So we have the RGB keyboard here. I will turn off the flash so you can see it. So RGB keyboard, the RGB mouse, and then I'm installing a couple of things up here, but as you can see in the device manager, I have the graphics card listed right there. And I have NZXT cam running just so you can kind of see the specs in real time for the temperature for everything. So this thing's been running for probably about an hour or two. I've been installing a couple of games, so just kind of waiting on those to complete. But at this point, everything's working as expected. So I think it's a pretty decent build overall, at least as like a baseline, and I think it was a pretty good deal, all things considered. Love to hear what your thoughts are, so drop them down in the comment box below, and I'll see you all in the next video.